He pulled into his driveway expecting silence. Instead, the lights were on. Ethan Carter froze behind the wheel of his SUV, staring at his glowing house like it didn't belong to him. It was a Wednesday night, past midnight. Rain slid down the windshield in ghostly streaks, and somewhere in the distance a siren wailed. But all he could hear was the voice in his head repeating one cold truth. He never left the lights on. Something was wrong. He reached for his phone to call security, but then a whisper came from the shadows. "Don't go in." He turned. A boy stood on the sidewalk, drenched from the rain, eyes dark and unblinking. A street kid, young, alone. And yet, something in his voice, in the way he said it, made Ethan's blood chill. "I saw someone go in," the boy said. "They haven't come out." Was this real? A setup? A warning? Or something more? And if this was just the beginning, what was waiting inside? What Ethan didn't know was that tonight, everything he thought he understood about his home, his past, and the people watching him was about to unravel, and the one person who might save him had nothing to lose. The rain fell like whispers from the sky, light but persistent, blanketing the quiet streets of Riverside Avenue in a misty veil. The city of Boston had long since wound down for the night. Lights dimmed behind curtained windows, silence broken only by the occasional sigh of passing tires on wet pavement. Ethan Carter tightened his grip on the steering wheel of his sleek black SUV. After a grueling 14-hour day of back-to-back negotiations and boardroom battles, he should have felt relief pulling into his driveway. But something was off. The lights in his two-story home were on. He never left the lights on. Instinct kicked in before logic could catch up. Ethan was a man of precision, disciplined, methodical, never careless. So why did his house glow like someone was waiting for him? He eased the car to a stop, engine idling. The rain shimmered across the windshield. His hand hovered over his phone. Call security? But what if it was nothing? A blown timer? A forgotten lamp? Just as he reached for the door handle, a voice cut through the quiet. "Don't go in." Ethan snapped his head around. A boy stood at the edge of the driveway, barely more than a silhouette in the dim glow of a distant street lamp. Thin, soaked, and wearing clothes 2 sizes too big, he looked like a shadow brought to life. His eyes, dark sharp, watched Ethan with an unsettling calm. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded. "Ryan," the boy answered simply, "and you shouldn't go in there." "How do you know what's inside my house?" "I saw someone go in 20 minutes ago. They haven't come out." Ethan stared hard at the boy, sizing him up. Runaway? Liar? Street-smart prankster? But Ryan didn't flinch. He didn't beg. He didn't twitch. He stood still as if his entire world hinged on Ethan believing him. A lie was easy to spot. This wasn't one. "You just hang out here spying on houses?" "I see a lot of things," Ryan said, his tone matter-of-fact. That answer made Ethan's blood run colder than the rain. 1,000 scenarios exploded in his mind. Could this be random? A burglary? Or something darker? Was it possible someone was watching him? He pressed further. "Describe him." "Tall, black hoodie, moved slow, like he knew he wasn't going to get caught." Slow, not rushed, not afraid. That detail hit Ethan harder than he expected. "I'm calling security," he muttered, reaching into the glove compartment, where he kept more than just his phone. Ryan didn't move, but his voice carried a faint, almost amused edge. "If you're about to do something stupid, I'm not sticking around to watch." Ethan ignored him, pulling out a handgun with practiced ease. The weight of it grounded him. He clicked off the safety. The mechanical sound was soft, but final. "Serious, huh?" Ryan murmured, unfazed. "You always pack heat just to check your porch lights?" "I don't believe in chances," Ethan said. "Where do you live?" Ryan shrugged. "Nowhere near here." Ethan hesitated. Something about the boy was unsettling. Not dangerous, just out of place, like he knew too much. "Why did you warn me?" Ethan finally asked. Ryan didn't blink. "Because someone should." It was such a simple answer. So why did it feel like a test? He looked at his house again. Warm yellow light spilled from the living room window, softening the edges of everything inside. Too soft, too clean, too wrong. What was waiting for him beyond that door? A thief? An enemy? A message? He stepped out of the car. The rain soaked his shoulders instantly, but he didn't feel it. All he felt was the weight of the unknown. Then before he could act, a slow creak echoed from the back of the house. The rear door. Ethan froze. From the shadows, a figure emerged. A man in black, hood still up, moving with a confidence that made Ethan's stomach knot. He didn't look around, didn't run. He just walked calmly to a dark sedan parked farther up the street, slid inside, and drove off without a trace. Ethan's fingers tightened around his phone. He didn't hesitate now. Westlake Security. This is Carter, 225 Riverside Avenue. Possible break-in. I need a team here. Now. The dispatcher's voice was crisp. Understood, Mr. Carter, ETA. 5 minutes. Ethan lowered the phone slowly. Ryan watched him. You believe me now? The boy asked. Ethan didn't answer. He didn't need to. But the truth settled like stone in his chest. This was no random burglary. That man didn't come to steal. He came to leave a message, or something worse. I saw that car the other night too, Ryan added quietly. It's been parked around, lights off, engine running, always watching. Ethan turned to him. Why didn't you tell someone? Ryan gave a faint smirk. Who would have believed me? The silence between them thickened. Something was happening here, something personal, and Ethan Carter had just walked into the middle of it. But the real question now was, who sent that man, and what did they want with him? I'm so sorry to interrupt the story here, but the mystery is just beginning, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming next. If you were Ethan, would you have gone inside the house, or trusted the strange boy? Why? Do you think Ryan is just a bystander, or is he hiding something too? And hey, what country are you watching this from? If you're enjoying the story so far, please drop a like and help us keep sharing stories that thrill and move you. The security team swept through the house in silence, their black boots barely making a sound on the polished hardwood floors. Ethan Carter stood motionless near the entrance, jaw clenched, arms folded tightly across his chest. He wasn't watching the rooms anymore. He was watching Ryan, the street-smart kid who had warned him. The boy leaned against the doorframe like he belonged there, sharp eyes flickering over every movement. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. 10 minutes passed. Then Officer Matthews stepped out, holding something small between two gloved fingers. No sign of forced entry, he said, but we did find this. Ethan took it, a tracker, no bigger than a coin, sleek, matte black, and blinking. Someone had planted it under his desk. Not a robbery, not a prank. Surveillance. Ryan peered at it and gave a low whistle. Guess it's a good thing I showed up. Ethan turned the device over slowly, as if trying to absorb every detail. He wasn't thinking about the tracker anymore. He was thinking about why. Who would plant something like this? And what exactly were they hoping to find? That was when Ryan spoke again. You ever hear the name Richard Blake? Ethan's breath caught mid-motion. He hadn't heard that name in years. Where did you get that? Ryan shrugged. People talk. I listen. Richard Blake, a name buried deep in Ethan's past. A former executive at Carter Financial. Once brilliant, now infamous. Fired for embezzlement, blacklisted across the industry. Ethan hadn't thought of him in a decade. He figured Blake had disappeared into whatever hole disgraced men crawl into. But what if he hadn't? What if this wasn't just about watching? What if it was about revenge? Ethan didn't speak. He just reached for his phone and called David Green, his old tech contact, the only person who could trace something like this to its source. By midnight, Ethan and Ryan were standing in David's cluttered apartment in South End, Boston. Screens blinked and buzzed around them like the control room of a spaceship. Cables coiled across the floor like serpents. Pizza boxes and empty Red Bull cans littered the corners. David plugged in the tracker, typing rapidly. This thing's been active for 3 months, he muttered, and it's not bouncing around randomly. It's transmitting to a very specific point. Where? Ethan asked. David hesitated, then turned the screen. Offshore servers, registered to a shell company, but the money trails back to this name. Ethan's stomach dropped when he saw it. Nicholas Grant, a ghost in the business world. Quiet, powerful, untouchable. The kind of man who owned companies without ever signing his name. If he was involved, then this wasn't just a grudge. This was war. But why now? Just as the question formed in his mind, Ethan's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He answered. Carter. A pause, then a low, calm voice. You shouldn't have gone looking. Ethan froze. Who is this? You know who. You always knew. Then the voice changed, cold, deliberate. We have a kid, 10 years old, brown hair, blue eyes. Picked him up at the park earlier today. You're going to pay $500,000, cash, no cops. Ethan's pulse surged. And if I don't, the voice chuckled, then tomorrow morning you'll hear about a body in the river. The call ended. Ryan, who'd been watching the exchange, stepped forward. What the hell was that? A ransom, Ethan said, jaw clenched. They took a child. Ryan blinked. A kid? Who? I don't know. Not yet, but he would. Ethan moved fast. Every instinct screamed that this wasn't just about money. This was psychological, designed to shake him. Whoever was behind it knew how to strike where it hurt. But how did they know? Who was feeding them this information? He turned to Ryan. You still got those street eyes? Ryan nodded cautiously. Yeah. Why? I need you to find a car. Black sedan, tinted windows. It's been lurking around my house. You've seen it before, right? Ryan narrowed his eyes. I might know a guy. Within the hour, they were standing outside a crumbling diner on the west side. The air reeked of old grease and cigarette smoke. Ryan approached a man leaning against a rusted post, smoking slowly. Rick, he said, this is Ethan. Rick looked Ethan up and down. You a cop? Ethan didn't blink. Do I look like one? Rick shrugged. Then I might have seen something. For a crisp $100 bill, Rick started talking. That car's been circling the neighborhood. Always idling, never stays long. Like it's watching something or someone. Ethan's jaw tightened. Did you see a kid inside? Rick hesitated. Earlier tonight. Yeah, in the back seat. Boy looked scared. Where was it heading? Toward the industrial district. Ethan pulled out his phone. David, check the traffic cams on the west side. Look for that car. 10 minutes later, David had it. The car had stopped at an old warehouse near the shipping yards, and it hadn't left. Ethan looked at Ryan. Stay here. Ryan shook his head. You're not walking into that alone. This isn't your fight, kid. Ryan's gaze didn't waver. Maybe it is now. As they drove toward the warehouse, the city blurred past in streaks of red and gold. The rain had faded, but the tension hadn't. In the distance, the warehouse rose from the darkness like a broken tooth. Abandoned, hollow, silent. But Ethan knew something, or someone, was inside, and time was running out. Sorry to pause here, but the next moments are too intense to rush. Do you think Nicholas Grant is really the one behind all of this? Or is someone even more powerful pulling the strings? If you were in Ethan's shoes, would you trust Ryan to come with you into the unknown? Tell me where you're watching from. I'd love to know how far this story is reaching. And if you're hooked so far, please hit the like button to support these stories. The warehouse loomed in silence, cloaked in shadows and the distant hum of city noise. Ethan Carter crouched behind a rusted dumpster, gun drawn, jaw clenched tight. Beside him, Ryan Brooks barely breathed, his young eyes darting from corner to corner. Neither spoke. They didn't have to. They both knew. This wasn't just a rescue. It was a reckoning. Inside, the flickering light revealed what they feared. A small boy, no older than 10, tied to a chair in the center of the room. Dirty, trembling, tear-streaked. Liam Walker. But where were the men? Too quiet. Too still. Trap? Ethan's gut said yes, but he didn't move back. Not this time. He stepped forward, slow and silent. The floor creaked beneath his weight. Liam's eyes flew open, wide with terror, darting to something behind Ethan. Trap, Liam whispered. Too late. A voice emerged from the darkness. Drop it, Ethan. Richard Blake. He stepped out from the shadows, gun leveled at Ethan's chest, face older, sharper, haunted. You always thought you were untouchable, Richard hissed. Well, let's see how it feels to lose something you care about. Let him go, Richard, Ethan said, calm but steel-edged. This isn't about the boy. Oh, but it is, Richard smirked. Because you never lose, Ethan. But tonight you will. In the silence that followed, a wrench clattered across the floor. Richard's head snapped toward the sound. Ryan! He had flanked them. In that heartbeat of distraction, Ethan lunged. The warehouse exploded in motion. Shouts, the scrape of metal, the crack of a gunshot ricocheting off steel beams. Ethan tackled Richard, slamming him to the ground. The gun skidded across the floor. Ryan dashed to Liam, working at the ropes with trembling fingers. By the time the sirens began to wail, it was over. Richard lay cuffed and bleeding. Liam was safe. But something felt off. As police cars pulled up and officers stormed the building, Richard looked up at Ethan, blood trailing from his mouth, eyes gleaming. You think this ends with me? Ethan didn't respond. Richard grinned through his teeth. You're not ready for what's coming. Those words lingered as Richard was hauled away. Later, in the stillness of Ethan's apartment, with Liam asleep in the spare room and Ryan silently staring at the city lights from the window, Ethan stood alone in the kitchen, turning the GPS tracker over in his palm. Was Richard just a pawn? Was Nicholas Grant still pulling strings from the shadows? Or was there someone even higher up, someone Ethan hadn't even seen coming? He poured a glass of water but didn't drink it. His mind was somewhere else. Do you ever sleep? Ryan asked from the hallway. Ethan smirked. Used to? Ryan stepped into the kitchen, looking out of place but oddly comfortable. You keeping him? The kid? He's not a stray dog. Ryan shrugged. No, but he's here, and he's got no one. You know what that's like, don't you? Ethan didn't answer, because Ryan was right. He'd built an empire, sure, but it had cost him everything. Claire, peace, family. And yet in just one chaotic night, a homeless teenager and a kidnapped boy had filled his home with something he hadn't felt in years. Life. He turned to Ryan. What about you? Got somewhere else to go? Ryan hesitated, then shook his head. Nope. Ethan nodded. No lectures, no emotional speeches. Just quiet understanding. You hungry? He asked. Ryan grinned. Always. By morning, the apartment wasn't as quiet as it used to be. There were dishes in the sink that weren't Ethan's. The TV was on low volume. There was a pair of sneakers by the door that didn't belong to him, and for the first time in years, he didn't mind. Sometimes family finds you in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes it begins on a rainy night with a whisper, "Don't go in." And sometimes that whisper saves more than just a life. Sorry we have to pause the story here, but thank you for staying with Ethan, Ryan, and Liam through the storm. Before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Ethan made the right choice letting these boys into his life? Or should he have stayed alone and safe? What do you think Nicholas Grant is planning next? Could this have all been just the beginning? And now tell me, what did you think of the story? If you loved it, comment the number 3 below. If it felt average, comment 2. If it didn't quite hit for you, comment 1 and let us know what could have made it better. Also, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. And if this story touched you in any way, please like, tap the heart, and share it so others can experience it too.